Good day and welcome to The Silence Speaks Volumes. Today we welcome back guests Abida Steenkamp, new guests to the show, John and Chiddies. As some of you know, Abida is a social worker and volunteer at Cancer. John, what brings you to the show?
I am a cancer warrior and I come out of the psychiatric field. So when I was diagnosed, in actual fact, I had 6 frail old ladies and 1 gentleman living with me. So it was really a hectic shock to hear that.
And how long ago was that?
That was in 2015, so it's going in for the 5th year.
And what type of cancer was that?
Bone marrow and metastases into the bone.
Wow.
So it's my whole skeletal system.
Warrior of note.
Absolutely.
And Chiddies, what brings you here?
So I'm Sharice. I'm a public speaker, a performer, and I'm disabled, born with osteogenesis imperfecta,
Okay. That's also known as brittle bones.
commonly known as brittle bones.
Commonly
Yes.
known as brittle bones. So, ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank
And today we'd like to look at support, again, looking for support outside of your medical journey. That is, I know from a personal point of view, when I had my diagnosis, finding that boundaries with people was a big challenge. Finding someone to speak to was an even bigger challenge. I know one of the challenges I faced as a Muslim man, was the 5 daily prayers. I have a bag attached to my side. That way I do my number 2 business into. How do I take wudu? How do I take ablution before my daily prayers? I mean, I can't afford 5 bags a day. I can't afford to clean myself 5 times a day. How does this work? And finding the right people to speak to was such a challenge. Abida, from a cancer point of view, what is on offer there for those watching?
Well, Cancer per se offers support groups throughout the whole of South Africa, not only to the cancer patients, but to the family and extended family members. And we offer it at various centres throughout the Cape. Just contact your nearest cancer office and they will be able to advise you.
Jean, from your perspective, being diagnosed with cancer and coming from the psychiatric field, how important is it to have a good support structure in place, and what does the support structure look like?
We're not just a physical body. We're actually made up of various dimensions, and we are relational kind of beings with our emotions and also our spiritual side. And in actual fact, the physical support, in my mind, is minimum to actually the emotional and also the spiritual support, because no matter what religion, we believe that the greater being is actually the healer. And so, yeah.
True. And what worked for you during the support and what didn't work for you in those initial stages?
To me, it was a shock, because for 2 years prior, I was just diagnosed with degenerative, getting old symptoms. And the day I was diagnosed, I mean, they said there's nothing wrong and you have to go home. And I actually just said, I am going nowhere. And the pain was so severe, so they actually had to sedate me, so I didn't even have time to think about it. I mean, for since 2015 until middle 2018, I was in a world of my own, just coping with the pain. And yet, if in retrospect, I can see that the emotional support and the family support and having running a business and having to actually get somebody else to look after it, which I didn't have the ability to do. And that people came in and out, but I needed more the spiritual and the emotional support rather than any other support.
We've been speaking off camera, and you said something that is quite remarkable. You're not supposed to be here. He's supposed to be dead. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
When I was diagnosed, in actual fact, it was picked up in my neck spine, in the cervical spine. And in layman's term, you call that the hangman's fracture, where when they hang you, then you're dead. So I think that the surgeon, the spinal surgeon, was more shocked than what I was, because I was high on pethidine and morphine. And that he prepared the family for the worst, because he thought I was joking, because being the person I am, I just said what must be, must be. And so I have fusions in the neck, so that means metal right down, and also at the bottom. So I'm actually supposed to be wearing braces, and by the grace of the Almighty, I am not. So in 2016, my death certificate was actually written, and medically they said that there's nothing more they can do.
Wow.
So presently, I'm doing my own medical kind of treatment, informing the doctor, just symptomatically, what to do, because I've stopped chemo, because the chemo makes me very sick and puts more limitations onto me.
Wow.
Did I answer that properly?
Wow.
And she's a real inspiration to
For sure.
everyone in the support group. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes, yeah, and I must say that, I had this kind of thing, because coming out of the psychiatric field and having to run various sorts of support groups, that it's more pity parties. But yet, there's always somebody within the support group run by cancer that motivates and encourages people. And that we don't look at the negative, that we look at the positive.
Positive.
And with the relational support, we actually become a family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cherise, welcome to the show again. And I think firstly for our viewers out there, what exactly is osteogenesis imperfecta?
So osteogenesis is genetic. Most people are born with it, or everybody's born with it, but some it comes within the family gene pool. In my case, first in the family, so there's no one else either side of the family, and it's genetic. You can't do anything about it. You can't take pills or go on medication to make it go away or anything like that. Basically, it's a lack of calcium in the bones, so your bones are brittle or softer than normal. However, as you grow older or age, your bones do actually become stronger.
Stronger.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. And I think you on many levels, there's such an inspiring story behind yours. I know you're a performer.
So yes, I used to do ballroom and Latin dancing. I did contemporary at the stage as well, and I'm currently doing aerial silk. And just I like keeping busy. As weekends, I do indoor rock climbing sometimes when I get a chance. So I like keeping busy and doing different.
Amazing, amazing. I think your journey when it comes to finding that support, I think it's a lot different to what we as cancer patients would experience. So usually, not always, but usually a lot older, set in life, and you get this bombshell dropped on you. You were born with this condition, and as you matured and growing up, so to speak, I'm sure there were different stages of support and different types of support that it is you needed on your journey.
So because I was born with it, and that's just my view, I don't think everybody's view is similar to mine. For me, it was normal because it's all I know. I don't know what it is like to be normal.
Yeah.
So for me, this is normal.
Yeah.
When it comes to support, family is amazing. But I also have a great friend structure. And when I say friends, it's more talking to people, having normal chats to friends. I think that's amazing support. I don't think it's always the physical support that we need, especially in my case. Yes, family and friends, when you're sick or in hospital or whatever the case may be, they are a great source of support. But I think friends are also very important.
Can I just ask you something? Were you ever bullied at school?
No, my mouth is way too big for that.
That's amazing. But it's also a good question. But I also think on that, and from in my view, it's a type of bullying where you have the family and friends telling you what type of treatment you need, what you say yes to on your medical journey or your medical treatment, and what you say no to. And I'm sure you must have experienced it in your case. But how can you be doing ballroom dancing?
So I think because I've been born this way and I'm lucky to say my family is very, for them it's also kind of normal thing. So small example, there's a mug on the top shelf. They still used to me doing everything myself, and in their eyes I am normal. I sometimes have to remind them, I'm disabled, can you please pass me the mug? So that's also a huge support structure in its own, because they're not singling you out,
Yeah.
making you different to everybody else. So that's a support in its own, I think. Because sometimes the support can turn into pity, and pity is not always
Yeah, no,
a good thing. Yeah.
it's a downward spiral.
Yeah.
but-
And and just on what you said too, I mean, we place limitations upon ourselves, you know, and that actually causes us to do more intro pitying of
Yeah.
ourselves.
So this pity parties, I think it's opening up
Quite a few. Yeah.
a new can of worms here
Worms.
for us. I mean, Abida, from a social worker's point of view, I'm sure you must have come across a lot of these instances. And what does this pity party look like?
Well, normally, you know, the patient feels that he's unable to cope with this, it's too overwhelming, and he's alone on this journey. There's nobody else experiencing the type of illness he has at that moment in time. So you have to actually counsel the patient, you know, first and foremost to embrace the illness, you know, and that there are support structures out there, and there are others that are also on this journey, and actually invite him or her, you know, to go out and meet people, and attend a support group, or otherwise, you know, come and speak at you know, at the various exhibitions that the cancer provides, or, you know, the when it's the Cancer Awareness Month, you know, would the person be willing to speak about their journey, or actually come and listen to someone else? And they listening to someone else about their journey opens up a lot.
Awesome. So we have to take a short break. We've got some bills to pay. But when we come back, we'd like to pick up on this and look at how the ways of getting over this pity party and how to set the boundaries. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you shortly. Welcome back, and with us we have Abida Steenkamp, John, and Cherise. So ladies, before the break we were talking about the support structures with those around us, and also looking at the pity parties. You all seem to be very strong, independent ladies here, and phenomenal women in your own right. Was there a point where you went through that pity party? Jean?
I don't think so. What I didn't say, I'm a nurse administrator, which in layman's term is a matron, and the elder sibling. So I was always in control and always in charge. And I mean, as I said, with this having 5 frail people within my home, I can remember lying on bed, crawling out of there, and then I still had the walker, and my 2 sons were like security guards, actually stopping me. And the pity party only came, say, a year after that, when I came to some of my senses. And pitying myself in, why are there such a lot of people coming to me? I couldn't handle that. And also that, is it worth living? Is it worth living? And normally, the wintry season, I do take a dip. Don't go into depression, but my mood is low. So especially during those seasons, then I do feel, I don't feel sorry for myself, but what is the worth of living? So I don't think that I really went through a real pity party as yet. It might come, I don't know, it might come, and when it hits me.
Can I just say though, Jean, you had mentioned earlier that when you are hospitalized, you normally don't want people to know, and you don't want visitors, right? Why?
Why? As I said, it's my whole personality build up. And I don't think that if people come and feel sorry for myself, then with the tears and whatever, then I start counseling. Sure. So if I do that counseling and all of that, it takes strength out of me. Okay. So it's better if I am alone.
Cherise, I'm kind of thinking along, so as we're hearing, Jean is phenomenal, she's a very positive person, who knows what she needs to cope. But there is the downers, the down days. Is it the same for you?
I think we all, whether we're going through any experience, whether we're born like a participant like I'm, or something happened to you in Jean's case, or whether there's nothing physically happened to you for that matter, we all have down days. And those down days aren't necessarily pity parties, just sometimes our soul needs rest. And I think you need to be able to distinguish between when it is a pity party and when you actually just to acknowledge either my soul is tired or my body is tired.
I just need a rest. Yeah, I need a rest. It's a very valid point. Now, also wondering now, let's say you find yourself in a new environment with new people. You've grown up having the condition that you had. Your family has grown up with you in this condition, and like you said, this is your normal. You are normal. We are abnormal to you. So if you come into a new environment, now all of a sudden those people will see you as abnormal. How do you manage your boundaries around situations like that?
I think, and this is feedback I've gotten from a lot of people. I've worked in industry, got into different situations where I am either the first disabled person or the only disabled person, or whatever the case may be. And what I think, and this is feedback I got from other people later on who now get to know me and now feel comfortable enough to tell me this, that because I am comfortable with who I am, they immediately felt comfortable to approach me, because there is no boundaries or walls, or because there is nothing for me, it is who I am. So it makes them comfortable in approaching me. But the moment you're not comfortable with yourself, other people pick up that energy, and therefore they feel comfortable approaching you and asking you, yes, no, how do I approach the situation?
This reminds me of a story of, I'd just gone back to work after having my surgery, and we were in a meeting room, and after the meeting, as I got up, my bag clipped on the edge of the table, and it popped loose, and it made a bit of a mess, and I grabbed my side, and I ran off to the bathroom, and I locked myself off in a stall, and I sat there, and I was like, what now? What do I do now? What are people going to say? And I sat there for an hour, and I was sobbing, and somebody came in, and I held my breath. I didn't want them to hear me, and I'm worried because of the smell. And for over an hour I sat there, and eventually I phoned up a colleague and I said, I need my bag at my desk. Can you please get someone to bring it to me? And they come in there, are you okay? And I'm just, give me my bag. And I was rude. I just, give me my bag. And I did the change, and I snuck out of work with a mess on my clothes, and got home, showered, came back to work. And I was so anxious the whole time. And people could see this, and what is wrong? Just leave me. And I created that anxieties. I created it. It wasn't them. And all of that shifted when I started telling people, you know what, this is what I have. This is going to happen from time to time. If you find me running off, it's nothing you said, nothing you've done. And all of a sudden, life at work became easier. And like you said, I became comfortable with what I had. I'm enough. The one thing I did struggle with, though, is people saying to me, why are you doing this? You shouldn't be doing that. That's coming there.
It will always happen, because I think most people, and I won't say all people, because you get many different types of people,
Sure.
but I think most people, they mean well. They think because it's better for them, it automatically is a better solution or approach for you as well. So sometimes you need to accept their advice or criticism or whatever it is, and distinguish whether this is for me or not. And if it's not for you, thank you for your advice, but no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And respect it now. I think that's important. I mean, from your side, Jean, with cancer, and did you have the don't do the chemo, don't do this, why do you want to do that?
You get lots of advice. lots of advice, and I mean, some people actually try each and everything, and Dr. Google is also a very good thing. I'm more inclined to be alternative, so I looked at that, but eventually I had to actually say chemo is best at that stage, and I had to inform the people, you know, that no matter what you say, yes, everybody says cancer is lifestyle related, which I don't always agree with, and so eating the right foodstuffs and taking all of the exercises and the herbs, etc. It hasn't been proven that it cures.
Exactly.
It hasn't been proven. So that, yes, with all the advice, you actually just have to be strong and, you know, and put a cap. Like, for example, I tried cannabis oil for the pain. And, and, you know, my sister went havoc. And when I started hallucinating, I stopped it. I stopped it because I could realize that I was hallucinating, where some people don't actually realize that they're hallucinating, you know? So, yeah, with all the advice, you have to make up your mind.
That is also what people, and again, like you said, not everybody, but what a lot of people need to realize, when you do that Google search, you will find 100 results that says yes to the oils. And then you will find another 100 that says no to the oils. And I looked into this for my personal use, and I know somebody that makes the oils. And there's actually things that needs to be taken out. And if you really go into it, there's specific types of cannabis that needs to be used for specific types of conditions. So you shouldn't really be hallucinating. Mine helped me tremendously. I never had the hallucinations. I used to take it a little bit on the tongue at night.
A druppeltjie.
Yeah.
A druppeltjie. Net 'n kleine druppeltjie. But it helped me sleep. And I never felt pain.
Yeah.
But I don't have any proof to say that it's because of that.
And they actually say it stimulates your appetite also.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and it's really good for pain.
But here's the thing. That worked for me. You found you had hallucinations and you weren't comfortable with that. You made that decision. But then dealing with it, you shouldn't be taking that. The cultural biases attached to that. You shouldn't be, you should try this. It's going to work for you. And those who are saying no, it won't. It is me sitting with a situation of, why are you talking about having a bag? It's humiliating, it's degrading, and people shouldn't know about these things. How do you deal with that? And do you, it doesn't sound like you've experienced that, but do you know of people that's going through that?
I think I actually experience cultural biases on a daily. I mean, like we talked about earlier, I do sports and I do silk. And people's like, you're going to get hurt, you're going to break, how can you go up in the air, you're going to fall on the floor and break yourself, you know. And what they don't realize is you can do silk and fall on the floor and break yourself. It's the same scenario. I think just, I drive myself, so me just driving from A to B. People are staring, there's a cultural bias there. How can she be driving? So I think everybody experiences biases in different ways. Maybe you cut your hair too short and now people doesn't think it's cool enough or whatever the case may be. But I think it's, again, whether you're comfortable in yourself and how you handle that, and whether you allow it to affect you. That is where the tipping point is.
I tend to agree, and again I'm reminded of when I was diagnosed first, and I wasn't really allowed to process the fact that I've got cancer. I had responsibilities. I had 2 sons, and one of the things, my greatest fear was, I'm not going to see them grow up. And there's this window period of not knowing how bad the cancer is, and you're sitting there and you're facing your mortality. Am I going to see Zayn matriculate? Or Riaz matriculate? Any of them? What's happening here? And you get this confirmation, you've got cancer, but now we need to do a scan and find out how far the cancer is, what stage it is, what's the treatment. And then you have people piling on their stories, and they mean well. I know they come from a good place, and they start projecting their fears and their insecurities on you. And seeing the fear in my children's eyes, and my late mom, I was her main caregiver, and the fear in her eyes, and how's this going to work for me now? all of a sudden I had to lift myself up and sort of not feel and not process what it is I was going through, to make everybody feel better, everybody else feel better. And what would your message be to people watching the show that aren't necessarily cancer patients or disabled in any manner, but on how to be with that person that is?
Yeah, let's call it a chronic condition,
Yeah.
be it cancer, be it whatever,
disability.
diabetes, whatever. And from a woman's perspective, I mean, the woman is supposed to be the weakest sex in our culture. So in my situation, it was different to yours, although I was responsible for all of that, that in actual fact, they wanted to take it out of my hands and actually say, no, we will now as males do this.
Yeah.
And that in actual fact, sometimes you just have to remain quiet and look at the people and then actually come to terms with how you feel and see yourself. And then tell them, look, I am still the very same person I was before I had the condition. And I do know about my responsibilities, but I also need to deal with my own kind of feelings and come to terms with it.
Sure. Cherie?
I think what I would tell people is look at the person. Don't look at the disability or the problem or the shortcoming or the whatever the case may be. Speak to the person like you'll speak to any other friend. Speak about their day. Speak about their life. Speak about their opinions on things. Make them feel human.
Newman.
Yeah.
Ladies, it's always a pleasure having Abidaya, and thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, I wish we had more time, but we have to wrap the show up right now. And I hope to see you back next week. We were going to look at the cultural biases. We're going to look at that a little bit more, the cultural biases attached to what it is we are going through. To the viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. As a parting message, I think it's very important and it's becoming evident that we are what we are, and it's difficult enough to accept what it is we are going through than to have to also deal with your well-meaning suggestions and feedback. But as our guests have said here today, treat us as individuals. We are the same person. Allow us to be. If we need to feel down, let us feel down. The sooner we deal with what it is that we are going through, the sooner we can move on and move forward from there. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next week.